So yeah, back to my shitty morning. Yeah, so I'm always rushing. I gotta watch the episode, but I also think it's a good idea. I like watching it in the morning because everything is really, really fresh. But also there's no chance for reflection. So
Right.
I have
Right.
a
You
lot of,
can't you can't you can't sleep on
oh
something.
wait a minute. What's going on?
Hmm?
Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's good. I was saying like you don't have time for reflection if
No,
like
no, no, no,
you
no,
watch
no.
in the morning.
Not about no, I'm talking about you.
I mean,
You get a new haircut?
I did get a new haircut, yeah.
You look
I'm all
great.
cut.
Look
Thanks, man.
amazing. Like really smooth. All right. And you still got a little bit of stubble in the beard going. The
Yeah.
worst part about this morning is I had a excellent workout, but every time I lift my arms up towards a certain point, they're starting to cramp. But back to the episode about reflection. Everything is still fresh. And being for the fact that everything's fresh right now, I'm pretty angry. Because
Yeah.
I did not like this final.
I'm highly disappointed.
Super disappointed. I'm not
Like,
disappointed in Laurel and I'm not disappointed in the outcome. I'm just disappointed by just about everything else. Everything in this
yeah,
final.
I do think that there's probably going to be a lot of misdirected hate and people being upset at Laurel and towards Laurel
Hmm.
when she just played with the cards that were dealt for her. So like it's hard to get
100%.
mad at her.
I
Like if that
100%
was
agree with you.
like that for all we like that literally could have been Veronica. You know what I mean? Like it could have been anybody. It could have, you know, and so like it's hard to get mad at somebody. I mean, sure, is it the ideal winner for like a really happy season that's going to make you go back and watch because you're like, oh, this person's gonna no, this will end up going down as one of the least rewatchable seasons for me out there. And it's not the fact that I think Laurel's not a deserving winner, but the whole edit of the whole season was Laurel isn't who she's always supposed to be. And now Laurel is in this love story. And now Laurel is just shitting on Cara left and right and constantly and is doing this whole gang up mentality. And then Laurel ends up winning. And then she's like, yay, Cara, we did it. We're both.
It
I'm
doesn't even
sorry.
make sense.
We call this something, you know, there's a Batman villain we go by, you know, somebody's being a little
Two-Face.
two-faced right now. And I just, yeah, it just the whole season kind of is a little gross, like watching that whole thing. Like if Cara ends up winning this season, you're like, okay, they built her up as she was getting bullied, she was getting picked on, she's backed into a corner, she has to fight by herself. Boom.
Right.
Or like Steve. Steve is constantly getting thrown into elimination. He can't win dailies. His friends are now talking smack about him. He wins. Boom. Like you build this narrative to a story where instead this feels like a more likable Johnny Bananas win. Like when like Johnny Bananas and Camilla winning like exes. That's what this feels like. And we're like, oh man, like DM and CT were right there, or Ty and Emily were right there. Like, and they win, and that's where it kind of drives.
Yes. Very little of my anger is directed towards Laurel. I agree
Yeah.
with you 100%. She, you know, she can only beat the people in front of her with the tools that are provided. And she did do that. Did she get more tools than other people? Absolutely. There's just so much to break down. Just a lot of disappointment going the whole way. A lot of great stuff too. I thought Cara had a excellent season. I thought she played very well. I thought we got a lot of classic Cara. My back's against the wall, and I'm gonna show you guys all. And it's been a while since we had her. That is by far probably the biggest highlight so far. And really for this season, the only highlight.
So, I mean, the thing though with Cara though this whole season is that I think this has made so like Cara fans are always going to be Cara fans, right? Like no matter
Yeah.
what, they're going to be her fans, and we don't
Like
have to
she would
worry
have
about
to
these
kick a
things,
puppy for some of us to
right?
leave. People who love her just
But
love her.
But I think the people that were Cara fans, let's say, well, pre-Pauly is kind of where there's a divide. Once she, and we could even say Kyle, like it's like that Kyle Pauly timeline. And I think Cara fans like split and they went with like, we're still riding with her no matter what. And it's like, oh gosh, I can't stand her because of whatever, because of,
Right.
you know, whatever it is.
That timeline makes sense.
I think these people though, this season brought them back, because this wasn't about Kara's relationship. This wasn't about Kara being in a major alliance. This was Kara being just on her own, the lone wolf of the challenge. And whenever we see these people and they kind of get all the screen time and they're backed against the wall, people tend to like them. There's a reason why Derek K has been so loved throughout the challenge. It's because he was backed into a wall. You're not a true vet like us. You got to go into a bunch of eliminations against, you got to prove yourself. Whereas like if that never happens, maybe we're not as big of a fan of them, if they're not always thrown in. I mean, Wes gets his people because he's constantly making jokes, but then he's thrown in against major alliances. People we see like Jordan, who are always willing to go against the popularity kids and everything like that and just kind of do his own thing. We see these, and I think it really brings back some fans, is what my whole point of this. But I think if we look at the season as a whole, I think we got somebody that we thought could win the whole thing actually won the whole thing. Somebody that we want to root for was there for the whole season, and then we had an underdog that was third place that made you believe like, holy cow, is Steve gonna pull this out? And then we got villains throughout the whole season too, and other people to root for of like. And here's the thing: if this was a traditional final, Derek isn't the first person eliminated. Leroy makes it past the third purge. This whole thing is different. I don't see the same people being, finishing in the exact same spots.
100%.
That's a long ramble. Sorry.
No, which is totally fine. I don't hate this season. I don't think this season was terrible. I think the final was just super mid to a mid-type season. The star of the season by far was Cara Maria. She was constantly talked about. She was constantly in some shit. Great comeback for her. That was great to see. Also, a couple of my favorite parts from the season is some of the redemption, especially with Jay and
Derek.
Jay and Derek really did great, and it was great to see Avery come back too, even though she didn't really do anything surprising or basically do anything that I wanted to see. Let me pause real quick because my dog is going fucking crazy. I was gonna say, the thing that I think is most optimal about this is, I said this a couple weeks ago and I was like worried about it with the way this was, but I feel like if you switch season 1's final with this final, they both fit better. Like if we actually had because we had 10 people or 12 people make the final in All Stars 1, and then they cut 2 people at the beginning. But I think if they would have done that, we're like, hey, we're going to cut 2 people at each stage until we're down to the final 6, and then we're going to run just like how they did here, I think it would have been more fitting, considering there's a lot older competitors, not in as good a shape and everything. But then this one too, it would have benefited from having a longer run final where, think about this. If people knew this was going to be like Carnival Games, Cara's probably not targeted the entire season the way that she is. If people know that it's not a true final. Yeah. 100%, because she has been susceptible to math, puzzles, and carnival type games. It was surprising to see her have so much trouble with the scooter. And, I'm watching this final, and one of the things that I found infuriating is it was like, this final is actually kind of tough to even talk and pot about when it comes to the strategy. I don't think it was edited very well, where it felt like it was high stakes, or the pacing just seemed off, or visually it wasn't that great to look at, or easy to follow. There was just a lot of missteps that I felt like came through in the final. No mistake bigger than just overall the design of it and what they were trying to accomplish.
I really wish that they would lay out at the very beginning. You know how they're talking about, we got this many people, I got this many stars, this many people are going to make my final, and it's going to be whatever. I wish they would go, when we get to the final, we're going to have purging and people are going to get eliminated, and only the top 4 are going to be able to compete for that money. Only the top 3 are actually going to earn money. And you might want to keep your friends around because they could help you in the final. Like those things, you don't have to be direct about it, but those things tell me, okay, I need to pull people in to win for myself. I got to risk that they're going to be, because I think that would just make it, I just think you tell people the game. Otherwise, right now, if I was somebody that was a big conspiracy theorist, I would go, oh, Laura didn't have a star by the time of the final, so they gave her a challenge that they know she would dominate everybody in. Oh, all of Laurel's friends are in here and she's not going to lose these little mini games. Well, let's give the stars to whoever you want, even though we all know that they're all going to do this whole. I mean, Derek wanted somebody that is, gay, bi, or something like that to win. So boom, he automatically does. Well, Nicole and Veronica, they're in that camp too. They're going to give to Laurel, or they're going to give those four. And the only way, like, if you think about it, Leroy given to Steve was an odd one. I mean, kind of not, but I get it. But it all looked like they're just setting this up as like, we're going to give Laurel all these things to help her out. We're not going to do a long final because long distance, Cara would smoke her. And we don't want that because we want this to look as like a race. I'm not saying they don't want Cara to win, but they want it to be closer. Because if this was a start to finish race of like 12 miles, Cara would have been 3 or 4 miles ahead of everybody, I believe. Everybody. I don't even think it would have been close.
I think if you take away people giving people stars, Cara wins.
I think Cara wins. And I think if it's like you just have to do the challenges and you can't skip them, I think maybe Steve wins too.
I'm not mad at that either. Let's go ahead and start breaking this down chronologically. If you want to, I don't even think it's really even necessary to do that. We've all seen the episode, but there are some things I want to talk about.
I think we can quickly touch on each event, who got eliminated, what we thought of it as a whole. Right. I mean, overall, if just sugarcoating, thinking about it and everything, this final will go down as a top 10 worst final. Yeah,
easy.
Not based on the competitors, not based on who won, not based on who got eliminated, just based on what they had to do. This feels like Challenge 2000.
Exactly. I like that. It does. It feels like one of those pre-gauntlet challenges where, anyway, first off, let's bring the episode in.
Yeah.
What's really good, pot stars? Welcome to another episode of Love, War, Challenges. I am MTV Malik. He is Tyler Louder. What's really good? Gang, 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 gang. Today we're on the second part of the final, episode 12 of the challenge, All Stars 4. As soon as we start off, Derek gets eliminated. Laurel squeaks by with a win. It's crazy because the two people who was up was the two people who barely squeaked in. So we find out that once you're eliminated, you get to give your star away to anybody you want, and that's going to give them a advantage. Derek gives his to Laurel because he wants to stay, it's a LBGTQIA plus alliance thing, not trying to offend, just trying to make sure I get that right.
I don't even know if it's alliance thing. I think it's just like a representation thing.
Right. And they did show them being friends and being somewhat close during the season, so that's okay. Initially, I hate it because we've seen this, I want to say in Vendettas, where people was, I didn't like it then, I don't like it now.
In Vendettas, you, instead of helping somebody, you're able to hinder them. So Cam got hindered, and it took Cam out of getting top 4 and potentially winning the whole season as a rookie.
Now, I love your encyclopedic brain. The reason why I didn't like it then, I don't like it now, because without it, we're talking about very different wins. I understand that the challenge is not fair. It is not fair. I don't think necessarily it has to be, at least for most part of the season. I think when it comes to the final, you have to put everything fair. Now, when it comes to the long races, might that not be good for some other people? That's whatever. This doesn't feel fair in the wrong kind of way. I don't like the concept.
It doesn't feel fair because it's out of nowhere how it's happening. Like when we talk about a show like Vendettas, when they were like, oh, if you win, you can hinder the other team. They let you know that's what's going to happen each time. If you become a winner and then you win an elimination, you get a grenade you can throw at somebody for the next thing. So it's like, that you're getting rewarded for having something happen to you. Whereas here, this is just out of nowhere. We're just throwing it in. Oh, by the way, there's 4-star holders, not 3 for each men and women. Just kidding. Oh, by the way, people can get advantages in finals and everything. I've never been a fan of these, and it really does. It changes the narrative of who can win. This isn't, again, we said this in our prequel, our pre-show. This isn't about Laurel winning. If Cara would have gotten 4 more stars, it wouldn't have been fair, and I'd be upset with it just as much. In the fact of saying it's a weak final, and us fans, we just want that drama of like a great final and everything. I do think All Stars.
We want high stakes.
Yes, I think All Star season 3 though kind of took that away from us because Wes played such a good game of making sure the right people were in the final with him, and the fact that he just like destroyed everybody in the final so badly, it was kind of like, oh, okay, well this isn't really like, because there was never a point in All Stars 3 final that we were like, Wes is going to lose. Like there was never a point where somebody's like, oh, he's right behind. No, they were 2 stations behind. Like it was never a case. So I think that the challenge probably saw that and was like, we need to keep this closer because closer finals look better. They went about the wrong way.
You know, and I didn't feel that bad about that last final because it felt more like Wes put on a master class on how to engineer a game to his favor and benefit.
And he was running every day because he knows that's what you have to do to win finals. You just run. Don't lift weights. You just run.
Run. Yeah, that's right. Because he said like the only thing you can really do in the challenge house that's going to immediately help your game is long distance running.
Right. Mm-hmm. One, like all the weightlifting you've done before game is what's going to help you there. And then, but I mean, imagine if we went into dailies and then they were like stage dailies and they were like, oh, you got second place, they got first place. So now they get an advantage in the second stage. Well, then they're automatically going to, like, you're helping them win. Like just
exactly
call a spade a spade.
Moving on to the second checkpoint. And I've mentioned this a lot of times. Second checkpoint is called spicy food. Basically, they have 10 spicy peppers they have to eat, which is attached to their foot. They got to lift it up to bring it down. One, this is a final. That is so fucking stupid. Just so stupid and silly. You know what this final reminds me of? I don't watch Big Brother.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if Big Brother was to have a final, this is what I imagine it looking like to some degree. And 2, I don't like, as a daily, eating is fine. And the finals, get it out of here. We don't need to see these people puke. We don't need to see these people struggling to eat a pepper.
Well, they don't have to even eat it anymore. They can throw it right away.
Exciting? It's exciting to watch people eat jalapenos and habaneros. It's not. It didn't even make me hungry.
Yeah, this final, each stage in concept, it probably looks really good on paper of like, we're going to have a stage final. They're going to get here. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. I think if this was like a mid-season endurance daily where it's like, all right, you're going to do this first. And when you're done, you're going to start running to the next checkpoint and you're going to do 8 checkpoints today as a part of your thing. It's going to take you 5 hours to complete. That sounds like a good daily where you're just like, oh man, this is a long distance thing as well.
We said this before. That'd be perfect in the middle of a season. Hey, we reached the halfway part. Here goes a mini final. Let's see where everybody ranks up. It gives everybody a chance to assess everybody's skills in the final. It can move people up or down your list, or you can change whole game plans and alliances once people see that. And make that small daily, make that middle mini final reflective of what they're going to see in the real final.
Everything here seemed like a summer camp for kids. That's the best way to describe it. And I know people will be like, well, you won't put a kid on a car for paintball. No, but you could put them on like a little Tykes like car and push them around where they shoot stuff.
Right.
Everything looked like you would be like, oh man, I got 6 kids in my house. What am I going to do during the summer? They don't got school. And you're like, I got some fun activities.
Give me 1 second. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh, fuck. A lot of people don't know, but I am actually a Irish twin. So me and my, I'm the distant family member.
Yeah.
But me and my sisters are still very close. So they always call me and, if they need to unload in a safe place, fuck, my arms are just cramping. I'm sorry. Ugh.
You might have to edit all this stuff, dude.
No, I'm good. Yeah, I'm definitely going to edit it out. There's a pause button, but usually I pause if I have to do something like this.
Right.
This is an easy edit. I'm so sorry. Where were we?
I don't know, man. I kind of lost the track of that.
Yeah. We were talking about
that
that bullshit pepper.
jalapeno.
Yeah,
Oh
that
yeah,
was
and
terrible.
I was pretty much just saying that this came across as like, what's a single parent or like a home parent during the summertime is like trying to entertain their kids, and it's like we got to come up with some fun games that they can do. That's what all these little challenges, they felt like. So, um,
Yeah,
Nicole eats the peppers first. Whatever, we move forward.
whatever.
She gets an
And
advantage.
here goes the thing is, you win this. You win this. Here goes where I have a problem with. So Nicole wins this checkpoint. What does winning this checkpoint prove?
Doesn't
That you
prove
can eat
anything. I mean,
peppers, you can balance slightly. It was, and that's why, and at least for me, that's why it also doesn't feel great. Doesn't feel like anybody here is excelling at anything.
no,
So
and
some of the carnival games make a ring toss would make more sense than this.
yeah, but then people bring in that's like athleticism, and it's like not ran. I don't know, but it's But I mean, ultimately, just with doing this type of the advantage is that if you win these little checkpoints, you're probably not going home in the next grouping, because you have such an advantage. And then, we fast forward to TJ's classroom. We got a drinking challenge. It looks like it's the taller you are, the more you benefit, because Laurel has zero issue with this. And we see
I don't
somebody
know.
like
Leroy's pretty tall.
Leroy's pretty tall as well. That's true. I guess that kind of defaults like with my whole argument there, but like then again, Leroy is typically not that great at like randomness things. Like Leroy is good at athletic things. Like, are you fast? Are you strong? Are you quick? Like those are his bread and butter. So when it's like, hey, can you solve this weird challenge type thing? It's not his thing. It was really disappointing to see him get knocked out right there. Really disappointing.
It was super disappointing. And don't get me wrong, I do understand that, but man, it almost feels not fair. Like it doesn't feel when stuff like that happens, it doesn't feel like we're getting the best people in the final. It doesn't feel it takes away a little bit of the validity of the final a little bit. It just feels cheap. It just feels not great.
You know what it almost feels like is that so that first part that they had for the last episode that Laurel and Derek got their stars to go in, I feel like that should have been included in the final itself. And then I feel like all these little like tasks of like eliminating people should have been for the remaining 8 people to get into the final is what they should have done. They should have done that where it's like the paintball thing get advantage, then whoever's the slowest person, the slowest 2 people, men and women, get knocked off. And you just do that like 3 times. And then we're still at a final of like 8, but we can actually have like a race, probably would have been better.
100%.
But yeah, Leroy gets sent home. It's pretty disappointing. He gives the star to Steve, which is surprising because he's like, you had to fight it. You had nobody on your side. You had to fight the whole season. You won 3 eliminations.
I think he wanted to give it to Kara, but man, coming home, and I don't think that was going to work for him because Kara and Cam are not on the same page right now. If he gives her a star and she wins, oh, listen, I don't think Cam and my wife are anything alike, but yeah, I just felt like he couldn't.
Which is so funny because Kara wanted both Leroy and Cam in the final with her. Like that's the funny thing about it. Like, that will get revisited and everything. And this reunion is bound to be spicy if they have one. I don't know if they have one, but
no, because they're gonna have one. It would have already filmed, and this thing has apparently been filmed over a year ago.
Yeah, I wish this type of drama they should have had a reunion. But gives a star to Steve. I'm not mad at this. I mean, I thought originally what I thought was gonna happen is like you got to give it to one of the people that's left. Like they're and they're just gonna all get 2 stars at first is what I thought. Right. But yeah. So let me move into the firefighter challenge, and Nicole is bitter.
Oh yeah, and that was absolutely great. This one was called Hoseball.
TJ Lavin is a gem. This is why he's the best host in all of reality competition TV.
Oh yeah. Instead of the Ron Burgundy, you got the TJ Lavender thing. I thought that was great. I thought that added a lot of levity to the situation, kind of lightened it up a little bit. It was great. I was great to see Cara and Ace gets this win, and it was also great just to see Nicole spazzing out really for no reason. Everybody who wasn't Laurel and Nicole was just like, we can't let these people get any more advantages.
I thought it was so odd of like, hey, this whole season we're teaming up to try and take out a target. And then as soon as other people team up against them, they're like, you can't do that. That's messed up.
It's
like,
so unfair. Do y'all listen to yourselves?
It's like I just saw this TikTok video of this couple, and he's like, I'm passing the phone to somebody that is the most beautiful woman in the world, and then he passes his wife, and then she just dogs him. I'm passing his phone to someone with a shitty beard, and then he's like, oh, okay, that's what we're gonna do. So then he goes back at her, and she goes, you always take it too far, and it's like, you started it, like. And I'm not saying this is like man woman thing. I'm just saying like one person does something, you know. Every action has a reaction, and most of the time they're the same reaction, and then people freak out when it happens.
Pandemic TikTok had the perfect video for that, and it's cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do.
Yeah,
it's a problem when I do it. So, and that was sorry, it's a cramp. that one hurt a lot too. And that's really what it is. And we've seen it with Adam when he was pissed after throwing Steve down into another elimination.
Yeah.
How dare you take my star? Like, oh, you sassy bitch.
It's like they all have short-term memory loss, and they don't remember that they were just doing these things that they were anti. Like, do you go back to that ball challenge where you're trying to hit it up? It was everybody versus like Cara and Ace. Like, it was the same thing.
And it's so funny because I remember I was talking to my wife. She's like, you should go in the challenge. Like, I'm just gonna like fill out a form online and go to the challenge. Like, but she's like, you should go in the challenge. It would do well. I was just like, I would probably have to spend at least a year getting back into shape. But the reason why I would never do the challenge is I wouldn't be able to survive the house.
Yeah, I feel like I would lose my mind, and I would just freak out on people all the time.
Yeah. The no TV, no books, no distractions, having to talk to people. I barely like people as is.
I would be an ace. I would just be sleeping all the time to avoid.
Oh yeah. And speaking of Ace, just seeing how stressed he is, just tells you what kind of guy he is. He's one of those laid back, chill, cool guys. This whole thing is just like a lot for him.
So let's fast forward. Cara and Ace get an advantage to the next one. They kind of get to pick their own room, pick their poison. I will say right now, I might have messed up here because I was saying that rolling the ball one, the marble one, that's the easiest, quickest one. You just roll it down. Granted, I feel like I can solve those puzzles really quick of like, where's my line? I can find it, I thought the hammering of the nails was going to take forever. But it worked out. And then obviously the fire one, like Cara and Ace doing that, that's the easy, like that would have taken me 10 seconds to do. I would have just been rapid firing balls to get it done as fast as possible.
So this is probably one of the things about this final that I hated the least. And I think I may, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think I may have noticed a continuity error. I could have sworn TJ said 4 rooms.
I know 3. I just heard 3.
Okay. So maybe I was tripping because I heard 4 and I'm thinking like maybe no one picked the 4 room or wasn't interested in it, but 3 rooms make sense, especially with you can only do it twice. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking, oh, the nail one is going to be the easiest.
I thought it was the hardest. I thought that'd be the hardest.
I thought the marble one would have been the hardest. I think Cara did the smart thing and going with the star. I think that was the right case and leaving Laura with the nails, even though this was one of the ones I was kind of okay with. Even though I think that this should have been the starting point for the final. Starting off like this before moving into the race part was okay. I was kind of okay with it. I thought it was all right.
I thought it was funny again. Here we are, and Nicole and Laurel are all mad that Cara's not helping them out and giving them hints and clues to everything.
What were you expecting?
And then Laurel comes out and flips her off, and it's like, what? Like,
you know what? And actually, I thought that one was pretty harmless. Cause I saw some people was like mad about that, and I was like, no, I get it. It was more of a playful fuck you than anything else. So I don't think Cara took that to heart, nor do I think Laurel even meant it. I think Laurel was so happy in this final. I think she was just having the time of her life. At least she was going against Cara, who doesn't always seem like it. She respects as a challenger. And she's there with Nicole. She looks like she was having the time of her life. I didn't hate this as much as I thought I was going to hate it. I would have picked the nails. I personally felt like I would have been more comfortable with the nails, even though it does seem like the fire one was the easiest one to go. I thought the strategy on it was great, and Laurel leaning in, listening to her talk to Steve, I also thought was like funny too. Veronica and Nicole gets knocked out this round, which I'm also okay with, but they both take their stars and give it to Laurel. So, now if people are giving stars, you should have capped it at some point. because now you got somebody with 4 stars, one person with 2, everybody else got 1, and that just seems wild. That seems wild. It doesn't seem like it fits. It doesn't seem fair. And like I said, this is the challenge. So fairness is not exactly a prerequisite for what we're dealing with here. It just all felt so wrong. I thought there was some, I really thought some hating ass shit too. Like yo, y'all hate Kara this much that y'all stacking it for, I don't know. I didn't like none of it.
So what it is again, we have to, for people that are fans of Laurel and everything, we're not dogging on Laurel. Laurel just received the stars. She had good relations with people. Those people made it to finals. Whatever, it works out. It had less to do with being good in the challenge and it had more to do with building relationships, which is fine. That's okay.
Which is also fine.
But this still goes down. Like if in the future we ever do a power ranking of the best winners of each season, based on their play from the season, Laurel, this win has an asterisk next to it. It's not going to be a top tier win. She didn't dominate the final. She was given advantages. She was able to skip things and still barely won from the edit. It could have been a 5-minute win for all we know. It seemed like it was closer, but realistically, if all these advantages don't happen in a final, nonetheless, because I think when you do these advantages, it should almost be like when they have like an overnight and they got to sleep. It's like, hey, you can't go to bed for 2 more hours because they beat you today, so they get 2 more hours of sleep. Okay, I get that. That's fine.
That's fine.
Like, oh, hey, before you go to bed, you got to eat this food. That's your punishment for not getting in first. Okay, I get it.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not going to drastically affect the game in ways that make people question the validity of your final.
It's not giving somebody a win. It's giving somebody a win because each puzzle wasn't like estimated time of 3 minutes, No, each puzzle was different. So being able to pick your puzzle. On top of that, the rules for some reason that you're not allowed to use 2 stars on 1 lap seems really odd. I don't understand the difference because if you had 5 stars and you skipped each one once on a lap, it's the same as skipping all 5 of them on the final lap. It's the same. Right. I think it's a silly rule, but if it's a rule that they stated, then it's a rule. But I think it's silly. It's so, this whole final just felt glued together.
Exactly. Like,
it felt like they had interns at MTV and were like, hey, here's some of our finals that we've done. Try and piece something together that's kind of new and fresh. And they were like, oh, we got an idea. And it's, really loose
and
rules.
It's from people who never watched the challenge.
Yeah, it's like, well, I love Big Brother and everything. It's like, okay, yeah, that's this. Yeah.
I didn't love it. Moving on to day 2. Day 2 seems like it's going to be more of a final. We got the big race. We got the star loop, which sounds great because we all remember the death loop, which lived up to his name. And let me tell you something, man. You guys they really shot their load out with the death loop. Because anything else that has to do with the loop, which I think is a wonderful concept, if it's not going to be anything close, which I don't think they're going to do anything as close to how brutal that loop was.
No.
But it has to be at least in the same vein. And I think that's what they was going for. We got a smaller loop, and and that's what it is. You got the smaller loop, and the checkpoints on that loop is a little bit easier, which in theory sounds fine, especially for all stars.
Right.
I think the execution on this was just piss poor. The games was take a shot or eat a cockroach.
That's nothing. Boom. That's a 2-second challenge. I'm on to the next one. I don't care how gross it is because I'm allowed to throw up nowadays. So who cares?
It's a pipe puzzle, what I do like, because that's either going to speed up or slow down people depending on how they get it. Stack stones, which is okay. We've seen it in last year's mainstay one when Nerys had to do with the second stuff. Okay, and we've seen it before. Then it's a shield puzzle thing. Why we have 2 puzzles? No reason. I think 1 puzzle would have done it. And one is swing and grab a ring. So these games for the most part just kind of suck. But during this, I wasn't paying attention to, because I'm not gonna lie, I checked out a little bit during this final. But apparently Steve at some point makes a fatal mistake. I didn't really catch it. What exactly was this mistake that he made?
So you only can use a star per lap is what they were saying. And Steve saved both of his stars for his final lap. So then on the puzzle that he could have completed really quick, he put a star on, then went to go put a star on the second one, and he would have passed Laurel because Laurel had just gotten to that same spot he was. And the problem was here is that they should have let Steve go back and finish that puzzle and then put the star on the fifth challenge that he didn't want to do. Like that's, but yeah, so that's what it was. Of the 5 laps, you only can use a star each lap. But again, I don't see a difference in that. Like, you know,
Right. I mean, maybe they're trying to keep it closer, but I don't know. That really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
I'd like to know if this was like a rules that were fully given out beforehand. I mean, I think it was, but it's like I just like to know because it's one of those things of like we talk about the gray area for the challenge. It's like you
Right.
just if you don't ask, you just kind of do, and then you'll find out later. But it really hurt Steve because he had to not only fall behind by doing that event and that puzzle that the ring toss, but he had to wait and get harnessed up, and then he had to participate in it, and like it looked like a good amount of time, and he completely lost in the final. And if Ace wasn't so bad at the pipe puzzle, it actually might have cost Steve $25,000. If Ace was pretty good at that puzzle, Ace would have caught up to him and been able to leave before him.
It was a little disappointing to see Ace just pretty much just look out of place in the final. He was great to watch. I thought it was great for this season. I think I wouldn't say like a moral compass, but he really represented like the everyman, the average challenge fan just kind of, and I thought that was great. I thought that was great to watch. I wish that he would have performed a little bit better. I don't think he's been in these kind of situations a lot. This is highly stressed, highly athletic, and he did look kind of out of place with it. Does it feel like Steve shouldn't have been in this final after seeing how he performed?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think when we look at like, especially like preseason looks and how like poor Steve did last season, Steve was the ultimate underdog. And I think he slowly proved that he was just able to like hang in there. It's like, just give me opportunities and I'll be able to hang in. Just let me do some things. I'll be able to hang in. Don't cut me short soon. And he really
give me a shot.
It really felt like, he belonged in this final. He belonged in this group. And when we look back at our cast, evaluations and everything, I mean, not just us, but I feel like across the board, nobody had Steve as a top 3 male going into the season, let alone being top 3 competitor or the number 1 male at the end of the season's end. I don't think anybody had that there.
Yes, but one thing Steve definitely does is one of the great things about All Stars is people are really getting to rewrite the challenge legacies.
Right.
And even this season, so much, we're seeing how Derek was able to do, seeing how Steve was able to come back and keep it rocking. Corbin Maria still showing everybody they got it. Jay just completely changed the way he's viewed by the challenge fandom.
Even Laurel, because Laurel's last 2 seasons, I mean, of World of Worlds or Ride or Dies, it was a really not really good performance for her. And then World of Worlds 2 really shot herself in the foot with that, that arrogance and everything and the challenge and the elimination against Ninja. And then just before that, she was on Invasion of the Champs, and there's speculation and rumors out there that she threw that elimination to Camilla because she didn't want to run the final because she had stuff going on back home or she wasn't final ready or something. And it's kind of is whatever it is, but so it's just kind of been some time. The last time she was, really looked dominant, and so even though she didn't look her absolute best, she still won the most dailies of anybody there, I believe. She didn't have to go into elimination and still was able to make the final. She made really good relationships that helped her in this final get advantages. And she didn't go into this final knowing that if I have Nicole and Veronica and Derek next to me, it's going to help me win. But it did.
A lot of things just fell her way. And once again,
everything fell her way this season. Everything fell her way this season. Yes. And
like I said, I want to be very careful to sound like a lot of this anger isn't painted at Laurel.
No.
The funny thing is, what as fucked up as this season was and how much I hated everything in the final and as much as unfair as I think things were, I still feel like the right person won.
I think the final 2 was how it should have been this whole time. When we predicted preseason, We said that this is going to come down to Cara and Laurel and probably like Cam or Rachel. Like that's where it's going to come down to. And if a guy sneaks in there, a guy sneaks in there. You know, but ultimately, I mean, Cara and Laurel this whole season, preseason, that's what we thought. I'm gonna let you know right now. I was freaking out because I thought I had seen spoilers for this about a year ago, whatever it was filming, that Cara got eliminated in like episode 3 or 4. And then I saw her go against Rachel in the elimination. And I was like, I already know what's happening. And so, I'm glad that she got to stay around. That's the thing we need for these finals. You need your top tier people to stick around. And then you need like 100%. One or two underdogs in there. It can't just be, you know, All-Stars 1 final where you just got a bunch of like whoever wins, whatever, who cares, thing, which is how it felt. I mean, overall though, we have to talk about this though. I mean, we need more female winners that can represent, because right now they are unable to put together a champs versus challengers cast because they don't have enough female champions present day that can actually compete. You know, there's just a lot more age gap. And they also don't have a lot of female winners that are multiple time winners. There's very few. I mean, we talk about there's only, I think, there's only like 2 that have won 3 in Veronica and Evelyn. And then there's only a handful that have won 2, including like Paula, Camilla, and Janae now. And now we see Laurel join that cast with Cara as well. Cara got that 3rd win on Champs versus Pros 1. Which we count, but it's just you need both those things. You need more female winners, but then you also need more females to win multiple. So it's not just like, you know, the list of challenge champions that have multiple wins. It's guy, girl, guy, girl. Like that's, you know, it's such a big gap,
right? And also that means the female champs that we do have, you got to get them back in. Janae's and Jenny West's. Dee said something stupid and she paid a heavy price for it. I don't know if it's to the level of, man, we should never have to see her again.
CT came back.
Yeah.
CT almost forget how much of a
problems CT was.
Like that Duel 2 fight is so vicious that it's literally not viewable. Episode 1 for the Duel 2 on Paramount Plus. It is not viewable. It literally goes from the previous season to episode 2. And it is so violent. And really, if those guys wouldn't have held, there was 5 guys holding CT. If they wouldn't have held him, he would have smashed his face and ate it, as he said. It's true. He was going through a traumatic thing. His brother had just got killed. He was not in a good place. Him and DM had just separated. So like he lost DM, he lost his brother. He was not mentally there. And CT had to take a couple of years off and then came back for Rivals 1, you know, was a mercenary and cutthroat, but then Rivals 1 his first season. I think D will have that time. Turbo had to take some time off and came back.
Bring her in as a mercenary. Let's see how the people react. Water. Yeah, test the water and see where it goes from there. I'm not mad at Laura winning. No. I kind of had her pegged to win. We all thought it was going to come down between her and Cara. It was nice to see Steve play so well. It was nice to see every guy like Ace, who just through being likable and performing decent, get to where he goes.
Never backstabbing, never being conniving, never going back on his word, never throwing somebody under the bus. Made top 4.
Great to see. It's nice to see the good guys win one every once in a while. We do got legacy rewrites. We do got people keeping up with everything we thought there was. Nicole performed and acted in the way everybody thought she was going to a T. Right. Same thing with Beth. Same thing with Veronica. So rewatchability is probably low. I don't think it was a terrible season. I think the final was absolutely awful. A top 3 worst final in the newer era, because, you know, like you said, Challenge 2000.
I think it's the worst final in the past 10 years, like hands down. It's the worst final in the past 10 years.
Easy.
Not based on how it was set up. When we say bad finals, if you change the cast of who's in the final each time, it still would be in the bottom. That's the thing. You could put my 6 favorite competitors, and this would be my least favorite final.
I agree with you 100%, but now,
overall, though, I agree. This season was fantastic, considering where our expectations were at the beginning. I think a lot of the men outperformed what we expected from them. I think the top tier women delivered exactly what we think of them. There's a reason why the Mount Rushmore of women challengers always starts with it's an Evelyn, it's a Laurel, it's a Cara. Pick your fourth. Like that's how it is.
You know, one of the things I did like about this final, about the season, is I did like the drama, most of it. I was kind of cool off of most of the Nicole Laurel drama, but I liked the drama because a lot of it was in-house drama, a lot of it was gameplay drama, and it didn't get as nasty as some of the stuff we've seen in the past. I mean, sure, you know, you got Laurel yelling, but Laurel said, like, yeah, they don't show that, you know, I went up to Cara and apologized for yelling and shouldn't have gotten that far, which, you know,
Right.
I thought they should keep in because, hey, why do you want to portray people as, you know, fucking monsters all the time?
They portrayed her as a villain instead of showing those redeeming qualities. Because then when she's talking about, I tried making better relationships, I tried building that with people and not being, you know, just on my own.
It would be
Those
nice to see that.
moments would be great to see.
Exactly. We're challenge fans. We love this bullshit that you give us. If anything, give us more. Pull back the curtain a little bit. We talked about this. Like one of the changes that WWE is making is pulling back that curtain and letting fans in. And WWE is doing better than it's ever done.
Survivor just opened up to 90-minute episodes, and we're actually getting conversations of characters that normally would just be on the wall, one confessional an episode. We're getting conversations from everybody. So, yeah, I think that we need more in depth.
90-minute challenge episodes, I mean, usually 90 minutes is really is really only done, you know, with super special episodes
Right.
or like such crazy stuff has happened. It was rare. And them doing it regularly at the time was pretty, I don't want to say groundbreaking, but nobody was doing it regularly.
Yeah.
But it gave us so much more content. And it let them, I think it gave them more options to edit in. I thought it was really, really great. So
All right.
I think the final just really,
Bragged.
yeah, it's like Game of Thrones. You got this amazing series that is pretty much almost messed up his legacy in the last 2 seasons. Because they're just like, all right, this shit is costing $3 million an episode. Wrap this shit up. Speaking of Game of Thrones, you been watching House of the Dragon?
Nope. Never seen
Did you watch Game of Thrones?
either. Nope.
Let me ask you a question. What do you watch?
Do I look like a person that has an HBO subscription or a Max subscription, man? I'm a cheap person, man.
Dude. Oh, hey, do what I do. Get internet TV.
Yeah.
You pay like $120 for like 6 months and you get everything, all the pay-per-views, all the channels, everything.
No, I mean, I watched WWE. I watched these reality TV shows, and I like rewatching comedy shows like The Office and Parks and Rec and stuff like that, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So
I recently got into Veep, which is really, really great. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, it was an HBO show. And yeah, on House of the Dragon. Mainly me and the wife just watches the first 48 all the time. Just to remind each other that we'll never get away with it. But that's going to do it for All Stars Season 4, Episode 12. Do you have a end of season power ranking, even though you would think the placings is where everybody ranks?
the placing is where everybody ranks when we get to the final here. I think when we look at the overall, Laurel ended up playing a better game than Cara based on what ended up happening in the final. I think how everybody finished is how everybody would kind of rank for me. I mean, I would probably put Leroy a little bit higher than somebody like Veronica or Nicole or Ace, because I think he played a better game with his alliance building. And realistically, if his alliance if Cam, Jasmine, Brandon all make the final with him and then they get knocked out, I mean, Leroy gets 4 stars. So, I mean, based on the concept that we know of, building these alliances helps you. If Rachel, Tina, and Veronica are in that final, Rachel runs away with this, you know? So
let me ask you a question. The challenge, letting the challengers in on what might be in the final, I think is a great idea. I don't think it takes anything away from the series. And I'm really open to doing that because if people just had a little bit more insight on what this final looks like, I think it changes how this game is played.
it doesn't have to be direct, but it's just like, maybe it's better to keep your friends around to the end. Like, boom, that's a hit. Like, why would he say that? And then you start the end of that. And it's like maybe you have 10 opportunities to get a star. Maybe you have 8. And it's like, okay, now we got to start thinking, you know, those things would add a little element. But overall, I think I'm happy to move on from this season and get ready for season 40.
100%. So that means it's going to be a couple weeks break for us, and we'll see you guys for season 40. That's a wrap on All Stars season 4, which is going to turn out to have a lot of great moments, but when it's all said and done, it's going to be Once again, I am MTV Malik. He is Tyler Louder. This is Love War Challenges. Good night.
Peace.